Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce that we're in episode 22 of Mine Explorers. Today's episode, we're going to talk about field versus the office. Classic clash. We're going to talk about what if Burgex ran a mine, what we would do.
Fun.
And we're going to talk about gold fever and some of the crazy cats we've met
Let's
with
talk
gold
about
fever.
gold fever. That's fun.
And some crazy characters we've known along the way with gold fever.
Yeah, crazy inquiries coming in, $1 trillion valuations. Yes.
Diamonds, gold, all in the same mine.
Platinum.
Rubies.
Platinum, jade.
There was one, in Wyoming, and it was a penny stock that was very clearly a scam.
Oh, that
and
was so
they
bad.
were claiming that they had lithium,
Yes.
gold, and jade on the same 40 acres of claims.
That we staked in the middle of winter, no less.
And didn't sample at all.
And did not
Or
sample.
sampled and didn't find anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like feet of snow. So our best sample was like a small
So this guy reached
small
out
soil sample.
under a pseudonym. He didn't even use his real name.
Yeah, it was a super generic
And
name.
he had us do...
It was Mark Miller.
Yeah, Mark Miller.
Yeah.
But not the real Mark Miller.
Yeah, because we have
a client who's the real Mark Miller who has an actual iron
we've
ore
met
mine.
several Mark Millers over the years.
And he's great. But
Yeah.
there was a guy who used a pseudonym. It wasn't even his real name. And he hired us to stake a handful of claims in the dead of winter in Wyoming, and we didn't have a lot of work to do in the dead of winter.
Oh, and it was a super rush too.
So we went out and did it, and then he turned around and wrote all this fraudulent stuff
Oh yeah.
and said that we were part of it and backed it up and everything.
Burgex verifies $1 trillion mine evaluation. I was like, whoa,
And we
buddy.
didn't do anything
We didn't do
but
any of
stake
that.
a few claims. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Oh man, that was nasty.
Gold fever. Put the cart ahead of the horse. I was going to save that whole segment for the end, and we just got it right up front.
We got excited about that one.
Yeah, we have a lot to say about it. So, office versus field mentality.
Yeah.
So we're in business now, coming up on 16 years with Burgex, and we've hired 100 people between field techs and office and all the contractors and everything else now. And there's definitely a difference in mindset and what you look for between your office staff and your field guys. And then there's the crossovers, like the geos who spend about 50-50.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest things you notice that are different between the two groups?
Is your question of like when I'm looking to hire people or what?
Let's start there, yeah.
Okay. When I'm looking to hire people, I'm looking for, if we're talking, well, honestly, just with anybody, I'm looking for reliability and how they communicate.
In the field, I look for how they treat equipment
Yes.
and their safety culture.
Right, which you honestly don't know until they're in the field.
And that's important in the office, but it's much more important in the field.
Much more important in the
And
field.
their team fit, because our guys on some projects, they rely on each other for safety. And a lot of time they go out in 2-on-2 teams. So the team fit can be super critical.
Oh, for sure. And we've had techs before that don't make it to a second project where they just don't hit that mark. And actually, I was talking to, Simon today. He's our longest lead, our field lead, and he holds the highest standard.
Right.
And he's like, if we hire techs, then it's the end of the project, or at the end of the day, I should say, they get back to their place. There's prep work that needs to be done. If they just go and hide in their room, they're not getting a call back.
It's fair.
That's not the mentality, because there's still work to be done.
Yep.
So now they've changed it to where instead of everybody works on everything, they just assign tasks. And when you're done with your tasks for the evening, then you're good. Then you're free and clear. But you still have things to do. And if you just want to run away and hide, we're not your team.
Yeah, it's amazing. When you're doing a claim staking project, your day can start hours before you're actually putting posts in the ground, prepping, stapling tags.
Well, depending on the
making
year,
bundles, doing your planning.
You're starting your day before the sun comes up, and you're ending your day well after it's down.
Yeah, so there's all the prep ahead, and then once you're done with the day, then there's updating all your maps and coordinating, okay, we got this done, we got this done. What does tomorrow look like?
Well, and
making a
they actually
plan.
have made their field projects so much more efficient over the years. So it's like if you and I were to go out in the field right now, we would be slow because they have changed everything that we do, just finding new ways to make it more and more efficient. I mean, shoot, even the way they cut wire now is completely different. They have a whole machine that they built to cut wire into little
Because they
strips
used to do it all manually, one at a time.
Yeah, we'll have to show a picture of what that is. So like with your claim post, we have a bottle, and in the bottle has your claim paperwork, which we talked about last episode with Amanda, and you have to attach all of that to your claim post that you put in the field. So you have to find
Your location monument.
Your location monument. So you have to find a very easy way to attach a bottle to a wooden post, and we found that baling wire works pretty well.
Yeah, and that's pretty common. I've seen that, or people will like screw some sort of tin or thing to the post.
Yeah, but that's pretty
there's-
time consuming.
There's a few, yeah, people use their Zinn containers these days.
Yeah, we've seen prescription containers out there.
Yeah, it was funny. We did a project for a guy, and I wonder if he's still around, because he was definitely in his late 70s. And he did claim staking occasionally on his own in Arizona, but
I remember this.
he used all of his prescription bottles, and they still had his name on them and
know,
what they were.
I know.
And so by the end of the trip, I like knew like all the prescriptions he had been taking and when and
Oh,
for
you
how
got your
long,
blood
and-
pressure medicine.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but you know, out there, that was pretty freshly done.
Yeah.
Out there in Arizona, like
Those
all
bottles
those,
only last about a season.
yeah, those bottles will be toast, and those labels will be unreadable.
Yeah.
The sun's gonna just completely bleach them out.
Completely bleached.
I mean, it's like receipts. Like, I'll go on a field trip and I'll save my receipts and like put them in a stack,
You're the
like
worst.
on the center console.
The worst at that. Yeah.
And the sun, even just like one trip in Arizona, the sun will start fading all my receipts before I even get back to the office.
Take a picture and throw it away. Yeah, but anyway, so when we look for people to work with us in the field, they just need to be solid individuals that we can trust and rely on. Because you're right, like when they're out in the field, oftentimes they're the only ones out for miles and miles around. And, you know, a couple of our team members got back, yesterday they had a 2-day drive because they're in New Mexico, but there was a forest fire out where they were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're staking 6 miles away from a raging forest fire. So they really have to be diligent and safe and be very aware of their surroundings to make sure that they don't get caught
Well, the
up
nice
in it.
thing now is they have the satellite communications.
Oh,
and
the inReaches are
and
the best. Yeah.
They have that, which is good. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think about like the McDermott work we did.
Yeah, like the early days.
All the early stuff, like
Yeah.
that place is like 30 miles down a road, and it is the only place anywhere around. There's one ranch out there, and those guys knew where we were and what we were doing, but outside of that, there's nobody.
I know. Those guys
And then,
are
like,
really nice. too.
Central Nevada, you're gonna run into ranchers and other guys doing mining stuff, and that's it,
Yeah.
if anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done staking projects where you and I didn't see another person for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. And that still happens.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy world out there. I mean, and the fact that we're still staking mining claims like this is just baffles other countries, you know, because, you know, we have a lot of Australian clients, we have a lot of Canadian clients, and they're like, really? You have to go out and physically stake? It's like, you can't just go pop on the computer and say, yep, I want to claim this land. Okay, it's that. This is how much the fee is paid, done. No.
Yep. Nope.
No.
You got to stake it, and it's super complex because not every claim type covers every mineral, and
Yeah.
there's like, yeah, like you get a mining tenement somewhere, and depending on where you're at, it could cover like all the minerals in that area.
Right.
But or you designate specifically, we're looking for this. But here in the United States, a load claim covers certain locatable minerals, a placer claim covers certain locatable minerals. Then there's all the leasable minerals, which, like we've talked about a few times, could be things like potash. But you can have the potash lease, and you don't have the lithium rights, because that's locatable. You got to stake that, but then you need the potash lease.
Right.
And then there's the oil and gas and coal, and you know, like phosphates are not locatable; they're leasable.
Yeah, right.
but like pumice is locatable.
It's so confusing.
Gypsum is locatable.
Yeah.
But for some reason, phosphate is not. But phosphate's more similar to oil and gas in that it's kind of a fossil mineral.
Right.
But so is diatomaceous earth, and that's
locatable. Yeah.
So, you know, the law is just how it evolved, and then it's never really been overhauled, but for good reason, because opponents of mining would try to destroy the whole thing so that we can't do any mining in the U.S.
Which is so wild to me.
Well, if it happens on the other side of the world, it's like it never happened.
I know. Yeah. And that's really where all the destruction's happening.
Pollution in China and Southeast Asia never reaches the northern
Yeah, and child labor in Africa, it's like that's someone else's problem. It's like,
out of sight, out of mind.
Apparently.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing behind like the Better in Our Backyard
Right.
campaign is we have very stringent, best in the world standards for mining and environmental protection. And even with, hey, Pepper, she just wants to interrupt. Pepper just wants to interrupt.
She supports mining. This is making her upset, yeah.
She did this last week, and I had to cut out a couple sections of the episode because she kept barking. Yeah, silly dog.
Yeah.
It's nice when she sits in the episode and she's cute, but sometimes she's like
She takes her doorbell job very seriously.
So we departed from the subject, and we kind of went to our old bandwagon. So field versus office. What are some of the things you notice in terms of like how they show up and present themselves differently between the field folks and the office folks?
I mean, if we're talking our team specifically, I think they both show up and represent really well. I mean,
yeah, but I'm talking like
What are you looking for here?
Yeah, so look, I'm not trying to like start a fight or be inflammatory or anything, but there's key. You're the CEO, and you really like being the CEO, and you really like the HR role. So you like knowing the team personally and understanding them and doing all that stuff. I'm the chairman and more the big picture guy, so I look at things more generally and less on the individual level, which is why we make a good team.
Right, yes.
So like I see, just in broad terms, I've seen over time more willingness to take on new responsibilities quickly from the field teams than I do in the office teams. Not to say, like, in general.
Yeah.
Not specifically, but in general, over the years, I've noticed that.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I've noticed a much smaller sense of entitlement. Not that we don't have entitlement on our team now. We've managed to really kind of weed out this sense of like,
yes,
you owe me because I'm here.
Yeah.
Now we have a much bigger, we're a team working together and we all win or we all lose.
It's a lot driven more towards accountability. So the field team, I do notice they have a lot more accountability because they have learned over the years that it's them when they're in the field, which means when they come back to the office, it's them when they're in the office. Right, so that carries over. That goes into like maintaining equipment and making sure that's all good to go, because if it's not, they're the ones who's going to suffer from it in the field.
Oh, a breakdown in the field is on them.
Whereas like, you're right, sometimes in the office, it's like, well, we have a few people working on this project. Nobody has really taken ownership of it. So it kind of just falls through the cracks and nobody's really taken lead. I get less of that on the landman side because like, this is my project. I know I'm going to be in the field. So I want to make sure everything's done to the best of my abilities. I'm going to have someone double check it because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one looking at these maps and it's going to be on me to make sure it's correct.
Right. So that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got you.
And not to say like, I feel like we have a really great team right now, on both sides. And
yeah.
The entitlement that we've had issues with on and off over the years on the office side is largely gone, if not completely now.
Right.
Which is really nice, but we've never had it on the field guys' side.
No, which is kind of funny.
So that's because like if I were to say top 5 examples of entitlement issues or lack of taking accountability issues.
It would never be one of the.
It's all office
yeah.
side of things, and none of it's on the field side.
Yeah, that is funny. That's an interesting observation.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was going for. But just in general, like, and I think part of our hire slow, fire fast, really taking the time to vet people out, we can weed a lot of that out more. But I think it comes.
It's been more like hire fast, fire slow in actuality.
Over the years. But I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
So we have some firewalls.
Business is always a learning process. I mean, because
Right.
sometimes you just don't know. And you always want to do the best for your team, right? But it's true. Like, I have noticed sometimes in the office, it's a little bit harder to think of finding ways to be more efficient, because you kind of get in that routine of like, this is how we do things. This is how we've always done things. Whereas in the field, you have a lot more opportunity to find things that are efficient, because efficiency saves, you see it in real time when you can save, when you make efficiencies, right? Like, you can save days on a project.
And there are immediate consequences. So, and there's pain, and pain is the best teacher.
It is true. There is pain.
So humans can learn from success, but they learn a lot more through failure and pain. So,
well, you remember it more.
In the office, like, shoot, we were inefficient on this project. Instead of turning it in Friday, we're gonna have to turn it in next Wednesday.
Yeah.
There's some pain in calling the client, which we do, because we're all about communication.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, John, I'm sorry, we're not getting it done Friday, we're gonna get it done Wednesday. And hey, maybe he's really mad and upset, and you have to apologize and kind of fall on the sword and say, hey, we messed up, or there's scope creep or whatever, couldn't get the data we needed in time,
Right.
we were hung up on whatever. So there's pain in that. If you're in the field and you're in Arizona and you're staking mining claims and it's 105 degrees outside, and you're inefficient and you have to spend 2 or 3 extra days in the field in 105,
that's a different kind
there's
of
a
pain.
very real pain and suffering that you don't
You'll remember
get
that.
in the office side. And so I think that leads to
When we
maximum
staked,
efficiency.
when you and I were staking, there's some of those pain points that I still remember to this day. It's like, ooh, we're not doing that again.
So there's a quote that I put into our episode outline there's something about a 5 a.m. drill start and 100-degree heat that doesn't exactly translate through a project tracker. So, like, or
Our geos could have some words on that one.
Yeah, we were on a drill program a couple weeks ago, and there was silt everywhere. And it's just fine kind of silt that you drive through, and it just lingers in the air for an hour.
We had to take the side-by-side in to get it fixed
Yeah,
because of
and
it.
it gets into everything mechanically, and it gets all over you, and that's real pain. And so, like, but that kind of stuff, like, we did recon, we did permitting, we were out there planning and everything, but the conditions changed. We did all that in the spring where the roads were still damp, and then you get into summer and suddenly the roads are completely dry and there's silt.
Until it rains.
There's no way to know about that. And then it rains and it turns into
And then it
slick
rains
mud.
and then turns into mud, and then you can't traverse like you could before.
So I think that drives, those pain points drive the efficiency in the field crews.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily see in the office, because there is pain, but it's in calling the client and delaying or expressing to your team that you missed a deadline.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of pain, and it's pretty quick lived, but when you have to suffer in the field in adverse
It's
conditions.
a lot more real. No, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true, because, like, in the office, we'll finish a project, we'll do a P&L, and we're hoping for this profit margin, right? And then it'll come in a little bit lower. And, it's not the same feeling as, like, making a big mistake in the field. Like, it's like, shoot, we missed it. And it's like, it sucks because it's money, but it's not like, you're not getting stabbed, you know? So what do we do? How do we, insert the pain into the office team? I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, a bucket of rattlesnakes. You know, we could plant a few choyas.
Oh.
You gotta hug a choya if you miss a deadline.
Just give him a stress ball of a choya.
Hug a choya, yeah. Or we could make a big mud pit out in the yard and just bury a truck up to the axles and say, hey, you missed the deadline, you gotta dig that truck out of the mud.
Well, I mean, you know, we can always throw them out in the field and say.
I like the hug a choya idea, though.
Yeah.
Hug a choya. For any of you who have had a run-in with a choya, you know what I'm talking about.
You should put that picture.
And if you haven't, I'll put a picture of a choya. And I used to have a huge database of all these field photos. Crystal deleted it today.
We don't like them. I don't like field photos.
She deleted all of it. It was tons and tons of photos.
They're worthless.
No, I don't have access to them
What are we going to do with field photos? Get with the times.
So there's a cultural divide. And there's real life misunderstandings.
Well, and you know, that's a good point with the cultural divide, though, is what we try to do, our damnedest to do, is when we hire a new person who is going to be in the office all the time. Hannah, for example, she's great. Like, she is a GIS, technician. She does a lot of the landman work. It is always our protocol to get those people out in the field so they understand what they're doing holistically, right? Because she's in the office, she's making the maps, she's doing the mining claims, she's writing them, but she doesn't understand like that translates to field work. So we've had her go out staking in the field before. Granted, it was in the salt flats, so it was relatively easy, but still, it's great education for people who don't understand mining and they don't understand how their job directly affects their teammates.
So, and the way you lay out a claim block will affect how hard or easy it is to stake.
Oh, for sure.
And so, I would say, Hannah does lay out claim blocks. Mm-hmm. Most of our claim blocks are laid out by Wilson and Andrew, who both came up through the field tech system.
Yes, so they understand those contour lines. They both started as field techs and became field leads. And then Wilson got promoted to the landman, and he's the principal landman now, essentially. And then Andrew is working his way up under Wilson's guidance. Yeah.
So when they lay out a claim block, they know what all the lines on the topo mean.
And they're like,
oh, wow, it's almost black through this whole section. All of those lines, that's elevation.
Those are going to be witness posts now.
But you don't know that unless you've been out in the field and you know, I know intimately the spacing on the topo lines, what that feels like.
Yeah.
And this last summer, because I hadn't been staking in a while, I went and climbed straight up the front of a 13,000 foot peak and really felt what those super close together topo lines look like. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at a claim map, even though I know I'm not staking it and somebody else is, I know what to expect. And I know hey, moving this location monument to the other side of the claim is going to have a big impact on
that's why it's so important
to
get office folks into the field. And we try and do that with even our Andrea, our executive our EA, executive assistant, right? We try and get her out in the field. She hasn't seen a staking program, but she has seen a drilling program, a few of them now, and some mine tours.
Do you know who hasn't done a staking program?
Amanda?
Yeah. The claim queen. She has written paperwork for 10,000 plus claims.
She hasn't done.
But she's never actually gone out and done a staking project.
Oh, hell.
So she's been along for the ride, sort of.
Because she's been with us when we've done staking.
Yes, but she hasn't actually done it herself.
But she was kids in, so can't really do.
Yep. So
you took Tacopa out staking, and he went out and he took the post back.
He's been out, but we need to take her. We need to take her out claim staking.
That's funny.
And I've been itching to. There's a few opportunities that I wanted to get out and do, but I keep getting pulled into other stuff.
Well, she's been in the field for other things, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we've even had Savannah, she's on the consulting side. She's been out claim staking. She did that within the first 6 months of her working for us.
You've taken Nick out.
Well, he goes out staking on his own.
But we need to get some more guys up there. So there's a cultural divide. There's real life misunderstandings. Breakdowns between field expectations and office expectations.
That happens sometimes.
And vice versa.
Sometimes we break down.
We've created a cross-functional understanding by having people go out and do each other's roles. And then we bring the field insights back in to go into our proposals and how we map and all the other stuff.
Right.
So there's a good communication there, but there's definitely a
Do our
divide
best.
between the office and the field. But I feel like we've bridged it as well as it can be bridged.
Right.
And,
I mean, there's always going to be a divide,
well,
right?
and they all work, when they're in the office, they all work in the same room.
Yeah.
It's not like they're corporate in some far off headquarters in Houston,
Yeah.
and this is the field office where the really work happens. We all sit together in a big room and do the work.
Right.
Well, you have a fancy office.
I
but-
have a fancy office.
But not the corner office,
I
because that's
don't.
Bruno's
It
now.
is Bruno's.
Happy
Yeah.
2-year anniversary, Bruno.
I know. He's
Bruno's
earned
been with
it.
us for 2 years.
It's been awesome.
And Bruno is a rock star and a real legend of mining. He's been involved at Resolution. He was the general manager of Resolution.
Dude, he should write a book.
He's worked in Russia for a number of years. He's worked in
Wasn't he in China for a while?
7, 8 different countries, Mongolia.
Yeah.
I believe he's been all over, but really lucky to have him on the team to bring his expertise, particularly to the exploration side of it, which is really his expertise, lifetime expertise, really. So he's been great.
I mean,
there.
he's just taken over the geology department. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah. So moving on, and we already kind of talked about gold fever, so
Yeah, we could talk about gold fever all day long.
we could.
I mean, the crazy inquiries have definitely tapered off over the years.
We've changed our marketing.
We've changed our marketing.
So when we opened Burgex, we're new to business. We don't know.
Yeah, it's
So, and we need to build a reputation. Reputation is everything in this industry.
absolutely.
And so we needed to build a reputation. So our original website said, no project too big or too small. We can help anyone from an individual prospector to large companies. And they had a lot, free estimates and all this stuff that attracted a lot of just crazy kooks.
Well, and we had a pretty big emphasis on gold. That was like our main SEO as well, and that was when gold was doing really well and people were excited about it. And
Right.
so yeah, we got a lot of the gold fevers.
And then we've changed our marketing and branding over the years to be
Yeah, you have to refine it.
a lot more premium provider, not the low cost option, but
No.
we'll do the best job. And we've really honed and refined on, we want the best clients and we want to do the best job for the best clients instead of working with everyone, which is where we
want clients who
pretty
are
kooky cats.
We look for clients who have our same standards.
Right.
And if they do not have our same standards, we don't work with them.
We had a client, let's put a pin in that. I'll tell a funny story at the end.
Okay.
Because I want to get to another topic. I wanted to finish on a funny note, but the other topic was, what if Burgex ran a mine? So what if you and I said, we're going to close our consultancy and services company tomorrow?
No. We're going to have
Hey,
somebody.
hey.
Okay, all right.
Don't shut me down on giving you a theoretical.
Oh, I was just going to say someone else is going to run it, but okay.
No.
Whatever.
No. Let me finish. Shut down my theoretical situation.
Do what I want.
Such a boss.
Do it to
The
me all
boss.
the time.
I don't know why I put her in charge of this thing.
Oh, mine explores indeed.
That's why I divorced you. As a reminder, she is my ex-wife, so now you can see why. Shut down my theoretical. You didn't even let me finish. So, what if we took Burgex and we shut down the consulting and the exploration services,
Okay.
and we took our team and resources and used it to start a mine? That's where I was going. We're not getting rid of everything. We're repurposing all of it to start a mine.
Okay.
What would you do differently from what you see our clients do?
Do more exploration drilling, exploratory drilling. Sometime. Well, I guess it depends on the commodity
Right. And your budget.
and your budget, right?
Because the amount of exploration you can do is always
What are we
dependent
talking
on-
about? Are we talking?
So we're opening a crushed granite quarry
There we go.
in Iowa.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to start with a really good market study. We need
Okay.
to know where is it going, who's buying, how much,
Okay.
Are we gonna oversupply the current market? I mean, before we even do anything, is this like a greenfield operation? Are we buying an operation?
Greenfield.
We're greenfielding?
Because we're going to start a mine.
We're going to start a mine.
If you're buying a brownfield site that's in production, then you're not starting a mine, you're acquiring
so we
a
need
mine.
to know, can we sell
Okay,
the material?
so you're going to start with a market study that includes the market, the pricing, all that.
Transportation, all that.
So market's good. You know what market you want to push
We know
your
we
mine
can
in.
sell it. We know we can push it out the door.
Yep. So what do you do next?
Find the team.
No. We have the team.
Oh, right, because we're using our team.
Yeah. So what do you do next?
Is it permitted?
How
deep in the logistics are we
Exploration. You said exploration earlier.
Oh.
Exploration. Your market's good. You know where you want to go.
Yeah, okay.
So you find a target.
Yeah, so
and then you do your exploration.
So let's start with the exploration program.
Right.
So now we're going to do some drilling.
Right.
Yep. We need to know the grades are good. We need to know what the resource looks like. Let's model it out.
Mine planning.
Let's do some mine planning. We got the engineers for that.
Okay, and now that looks good. Now you can start your permitting.
Ooh, okay, great. Now we know our permitting.
You're going to do like every other aggregate producer and just go straight from the market study to production, to permitting.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them skip the exploration.
I know, which is funny, but...
They go, here's a good site. I think this is a great site. Let's get the permits. Whereas really you do the exploration, then you start your permitting process. Okay, now you have your permits. What do you do?
Now we have our permits in place. We know what the mine's going to look like. We know what the reclamation is going to look like. We have good...
I think while the mine planning while the permits are going on, we dig deeper into the mine planning.
Yeah.
Start speccing out exactly what equipment we need.
Yeah.
Who's going to bring it in, who's going to put it together.
Yeah, are we buying equipment?
Who's going to commission the plant?
Are we contracting equipment?
Are you going to contract miner? Are you going to get your own yellow iron?
Yeah.
Who's
All those
building the
little
plant?
things.
Who's going to run it?
Who's going to run it? You got to have a good...
Because we have the
good
team
general
for the
managers.
market study. We can do the market study permitting.
But now we need to
the
bring
exploration, the mine planning. Now you need to bring in an operator.
Yes, and
so
we
you
need to have
a GM.
good, experienced operators.
You need a good general manager. Mm-hmm. And then he or she can bring in the rest of your team.
Yeah, right.
With you helping.
For sure. Right.
Administratively,
yep, and
how
then you
do
got to
you
have the good
structure it?
admin.
How are you going to structure your company
Cleanly.
administratively? So you're going to do like what kind of processes and things are you going to insist on?
Well, SOPs, you have your weekly meetings, you have your safety meetings. Make sure everybody from the office, and we've seen this before, which is always blows my mind, is the office people don't understand what happens at the mine site.
Or like we worked on that project in Louisiana for years, and the office manager never got her MSHA.
And so
she never went to the mine.
Which was weird because it was
a block away.
Yeah.
You could walk.
We did.
Except for in the summer. Whew.
Well, yeah, the heat is different, but yeah. So it's that kind of same mentality that we have at Burgex is we want the office people to understand what it's like in the field so they can have a good understanding of like, what are they selling, you know?
How does it work?
How does it work? Who your target market is.
Yeah, when you're like, all right, where's Tyler? And you're like, he's at the back settling pond. They know what that means.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then if there's an emergency, you know what to do and all that good stuff. But something that I would focus on because I like marketing, that's something that I find a lot of joy in, is having a really good marketing campaign and doing like excellent branding. Because I think that's something that...
So this is a whole interesting topic. People don't do marketing or branding for construction aggregates.
I know.
Unless it's like a specialty product. Like Quickcrete, for example. They sell bagged concrete.
But
why? That is their thing.
But why?
But they have branding and marketing. But people don't have branding and marketing for general like aggregates, sand, gravel.
And why is that?
Well, people will pay a premium for what they perceive to be a premium product. Consumers.
Sure.
Contractors who are buying construction aggregates don't care about any of that. If it meets spec for their project and it's cheaper, they buy it.
Right.
And cheaper almost always translates to distance from the job site.
Transportation.
So if there's a quarry that's closer and it meets spec, they don't care if it's crystal clear sand or just Joe's regular sand down the road because it's the same sand. So branding and marketing doesn't pay off, but as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, for getting your social license to operate and being a good community citizen and all of that, your branding and marketing matters.
It's brand awareness, not leads.
So your brand awareness will help you not in your selling your product.
No. It's not
as
about
much. Not to say it doesn't help at all.
Right.
Because like if I go sponsor the neighborhood Little League team and one of the general contractor's sons is on the team and wears my t-shirt home every day, that's brand awareness and marketing that could help.
Sure.
He could go, oh no, I like that Burgex mine. I want to buy my aggregate from them.
They're good stewards of the community. You know,
and they might pay a little extra.
Yeah.
Like I've had people who are like, I hate Arcosa, so I don't ever buy from Arcosa. I pay double to buy it from every other small mine in town. I don't know why they hate Arcosa, but I've had that mentioned specifically as a specific example. So
oh dear.
That helps. It does help the brand awareness and marketing. But it doesn't help like with consumer products and things like that.
Right.
I mean, it's like we talked about with copper the other day, like nobody cares it's Freeport-McMoRan copper or Rio Tinto copper.
But I think they would if we told them they... Here's the thing where I get hung up. Like, people need to just be educated of where their materials come from. So you don't think of branding and marketing as, oh, I'm going to do this because I want more leads, I want more sales. I want to do this because people need to know who we are and why. I think it's more of that, of more just the general brand awareness. And that's why I think no matter what your commodity is in mining, you should have some type of solid marketing campaign that just gets your brand out there so people know that, like, hey, mining exists and it's not the worst thing in the world. It's actually doing pretty good.
So you're going back to that community or social
that social license.
To operate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's being a good community citizen. There's awareness from, and if your greenfield site, that's from the very beginning. Like, we're going to have these town hall meetings on repeat. And you got to
get your social license at the very beginning.
To address concerns empathetically, which is kind of one of the things that came out of the AEMA. I've seen not only from you, but other people who attended talking about responding to concerns to mining empathetically.
For sure.
And I think I was very resistant to that idea because, like we talked about before, you're more HR oriented, people, things like that. I'm more like general, broad economic thinking. And so stuff like that, I'm like, that's soft stuff. I don't need to worry about that.
Right, because it feels like a waste of time.
Right.
But it's a long-term.
It's a long-term thing, but it's how you actually change things.
For sure, yeah.
So your branding and marketing would pay off in that regard. It would help there. It would help somewhat for brand awareness and stuff, but it increases the value of your company because when you go to sell, you may only have one mine.
Right.
But if you have a really strong presence and a good brand awareness and people know about you.
And back to reputation.
They're gonna pay a little more for your company than they would if you were just flying under the radar all the time.
Right. So I guess to your main question of what would be the main thing that I would do differently, it would be branding.
Okay.
That would be the main thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was putting together invitations today for Ag Nexus, which is an invite-only tech conference for the construction aggregate industry. This will be our second year. Burgex is one of the founding members. We helped kind of put it together last year. We're really helping a lot more this year. We're going to be really involved. I was putting together an invitation list, and I was looking for everyone's titles. Like, I had their names and who they worked for and what company they're with. And I was trying to find titles, and some of the smaller producers, and by small, I mean there's still like, one of them owns 4 mines and does over 1.5 million tons a year between them.
Oh, wow.
You know, you're talking over $100 million a year in revenue between all the different small mines. No website. No web presence, no LinkedIn pages.
That's crazy.
So the owner, I knew he was the owner, but I couldn't find a picture of him on the internet anywhere.
That's crazy.
And there was nothing about the thing. And they operate several mines and do some decent production, but yeah.
See that we can't keep doing that. We can't keep hiding in the dark.
In small rural communities spread out, it's less impactful, but still.
But still, you have a community that you're servicing, and I'm big on giving back to local community. I mean, we do that at Burgex every single month. I find organizations to give to every single month, and I've tried.
Is that why we're not making any money?
Yeah. No, that's why we're
Crystal's
actually
just giving it away.
No, we're actually doing really well. We're doing good. We're doing good. It's important to do. You own a business. It's important to always give back to your community.
Well, not to say they're not.
Not to say they're not.
But they're definitely not getting credit for it if they are.
Right.
Because there's no awareness. But like if they went to put in a mine, I've seen this a bunch of times. If they went to put in a new mine somewhere and a local opposition group got together and they created a website about that company and that mine.
That happens all the time.
And they got a bunch of content on there and SEO and traction. For years, if you type that company's name in, the top website that pops up is going to be that
one ragging on you.
opposition site because they don't have any presence to start with.
That happens all of the time.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those websites.
Yeah, it just pisses you off because you want to learn about that aggregate mine or whatever mine it is, and then you're like, oh, but this group hates you.
And you get tons of disinformation.
And they're not standing up for themselves and saying, actually, this is how we're doing things. This is the truth.
And they don't have to be combative, but just getting that info out there is key. Yeah, so
back to your funny
I think that's
story.
Good with that topic. Yeah, so characters.
Which one?
We had the jade, lithium, and gold all in one property and went the rounds with that. They finally got the fake guy with the pseudonym finally got indicted. And
back to the Wyoming
went away
thing.
and everything. And so that all wrapped itself up. The penny stock cratered 1/1,000,000th of a cent. And then all the promoters promoted it still for a couple of years, then left. But we had a guy once who is since deceased, unfortunately.
Right.
He was a wild guy who did a lot of real hard drugs into his later years, which
later years as in 50s.
Yeah,
he
I think he ended up getting to 60 something.
When we met him, he was in his.
But he wasn't a rock star because apparently they could do hard drugs indefinitely.
Well, yeah.
He's no Steven Tyler or who's that guy.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's this guy and he got taken for a ride by a remote sensing company. Remote sensing. So there's all kinds of jokes about geophysics. And for those of you who don't know, geophysics is using high-tech tools to detect mineral deposits. And used correctly in conjunction with drilling and testing and other things, it's a really valuable tool. And there's a lot of companies like Ivanhoe Electric who have Typhoon and proprietary geophysical tools, but it lends itself to the shadier side of mining where there's guys who claim to have access to special NASA satellites where they can put a special plug-in in Google Earth and just show you where all the mineral deposits in the world are with crazy accuracy. Mm-hmm. So this client, one of these guys had got a hold of him, and this guy had some money. He had sold some patents to the Navy.
Yeah, he was loaded.
And had some money, and he had blown it.
It was burning a hole in his pocket.
Weird things. He had a condo in Vegas. He had a wife and a family in Washington and a condo in Vegas that strippers lived at. To say it nicely, I don't think they were exactly strippers. I think they were a little more involved in the sex trade than that.
I like the field equipment that he brought out, because he was one of those guys, and we see this every so often. It hasn't been quite this bad since. They insist on coming out with us to help us stake mining claims, and you're like, this is not where we need you at all. And so he brought out...
Because inevitably they just get in the way.
Oh, he got in the way so many times.
We've had a few that were actually helpful.
Yeah.
But a lot of them that
like
just
if we're
get in the
doing
way,
a sampling program, that's different. Drilling programs, that's different. But a staking program, it's like you have a line that you're going down.
And we start really early, we work really late, we don't take breaks, and we're all about efficiency.
Yeah, because time is money, and you're working in daylight. That's all you get. And so he comes out with his super fancy, like, Ford F-150 or whatever it was, I don't remember, with a huge
matching trailer,
gold,
matching paint jobs, gold-plated rims, on the truck and the trailer, and he had a side-by-side,
a beautiful side-by-side
with the same paint scheme as the truck and the trailer, and the side-by-side had gold-plated rims. Which, if you think about the practicality of that...
It was an abomination to anything
that
you would want to use outside.
And then he had a custom air conditioner mounted to the top of this thing.
It was massive.
So it was extra tall and unwieldy. So this guy, back to kind of how this started, one of these geophysics firms had got a hold of him and charged him some enormous amount of money to plot out all the gold in Nevada. So they sent him a Google Earth file that had pins and shape files that said like 200 ounces of gold, 5 feet under overburden here.
But somehow they don't have a mine out there.
Quartz vein on the surface that's 10 ounces per ton that runs for 7 miles across the whole mountain range, through a valley and across another mountain range.
That project was a nightmare.
So he had us lay out like 300 claims in random weird blocks all over Nevada. And look, we are super about integrity and all this. So the very first call I had with this guy, I said, you're getting scammed. This is not real. You're wasting your money. And he literally said, you're wrong. I don't care. And I said, just so you know, and in writing, this is a scam, you're wasting your money, we'll stake the claims, but you need to know that none of this is real.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't care, do it anyway.
You're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about.
I made it part of our staking agreement that I said, we advise you that this is a scam and none of this is real, and just so you know, you're doing this at your own risk and you are wasting your money. And he's like, I don't care, and signed it. So we went out and we staked all these goofy claims for him. So we had claim blocks that were like L-shaped, like 2 claims that come down and then make an L. We had claim blocks that were like 5 claims wide and like 6 claims long that just terminated in like a parallelogram kind of block. Mm-hmm. And then we had one line that was 7 miles long, 2 claims wide, 7 miles long. And it crossed a mountain range, went across a whole valley and across another mountain range. And these geophysics guys had told him that in the middle of one of the ranges, the valley, which I knew based on the geology to have over 6,000 feet of pediment in it, very deep valley fill.
Yeah.
They had said that there was a gold vein that was 20 feet undercover that ran across that whole valley and the whole mountain range and everything. So we staked it. We didn't find anything. But this guy followed us around, and that side-by-side kept getting stuck and like bottoming out.
We're traversing in like one line across the desert on BLM land.
For 7 miles.
Which you're allowed to do, by the way, in case you're wondering.
And
it's okay, we're staking mining claims.
Across 2 mountain ranges.
And that thing was essentially just road bound because like you can't go over any type of berm. I mean, his clearance was seriously like probably about that. Mm-hmm. Which... I mean, my car could do that.
Yep.
You know, my Acura Integra could.
Well, that'd be pretty rough.
Yeah, I could handle it, but still.
Poor car.
The point remains the same.
Gold fever. So his grand scheme was to get enough money to rebuild the Temple of Solomon.
Yeah.
And he wanted to build it in solid gold, and he was going to get all the gold from these claims in Nevada. So long story short, we finished the project, we had a lot of amendments and things to clean up afterward because it was just a mess.
It was a hot mess.
And then he paid, filed all the claims with the BLM. And then when renewal season came around the next year, he kept one claim. Out of like 700, he kept one. And he kept that one claim for like 5 years. And then I guess he passed away because I found his obituary. But we never heard from him again after it was all staked. He wanted us to do the same exercise in Montana. And I told him again, I was like, hey, just so you know. And by that time, he had sampled some of the Nevada stuff and knew like there was supposed to be a vein on the surface here. There's not. He'd dig down. But the funny thing is, if you stake 700 claims randomly across Nevada, some of them are going to have gold on them.
Most likely, yeah.
But not all of them, and definitely not the way that they told him it was going to be.
Well, and who knows what kind of samples he was doing too, because we weren't involved in that. But
so, for any of you watching who think you need to use remote sensing geophysics from
just
shady sources, be real careful.
Tread lightly. There's a lot of people out there who just want to take your money.
Yeah, but a lot less now. A lot of the scammy people, as we've talked about before, went to crypto.
Yeah.
They went to crypto, they went to cannabis, they went to kryptonized cannabis, and they haven't come back yet, but they will. As gold heats up, as mining heats up, the scammers will come back. Be really careful. And for those of you who are watching who are not in mining, but might be tempted to invest in mining, look at the team. If it's a team that hasn't successfully discovered, operated, sold a mine,
and if their web pages doesn't even have an about us or no pictures of who it is, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just look for established companies if you don't know anything about it.
And if anybody starts throwing around billion-dollar valuations, but they're only looking for tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars from you, it's also a scam.
Yeah.
Platinum, anybody mentions platinum, or they mention multiple commodities on the same property. Gold, diamonds, all that in the same place, definitely bad news.
Yeah.
Anyway, not investment advice, just be careful. I'm a terrible investor, and I've lost a lot of money. Some of it to scammers, but not too much. Not to mining scams, though.
Yeah, you've gotten scammed in other ways.
But I've definitely been scammed.
We've all made our own mistakes.
And some of us just keep making them.
You know what? It's how you learn. As we discussed earlier, you got to find the pain.
Yep.
And learn from the pain, and don't do it again.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, stay Steph. Jeez.
Stay Steph.
Stay Steph out there.
For any Stephs out there. Oh, weird random fact. So far, like 95% of our viewership is male. So if there are any Stephs out there, other females, congrats.
Well done.
Yeah, we need to get more on there. Considering like more than half of our episodes have one or two women in them.
Yeah, what can we do to attract more women?
Almost all of them have at least one. Well, there's just not a lot in mining. But there's a lot in business. I see more female entrepreneurs now than ever before.
Yeah, it's cool.
There's tons in business. So
it's cool.
We talk a lot about business, but we might have a little too much mining mixed in.
Yeah, we can talk more business. I'd be happy to do generic. I like that. Anyway.
Yeah, let us know what you want us to talk about. And maybe we'll argue some more, because that's fun.
Happy to.
See you later.